Welcome back to Align by Design, where we dive into the journey of alignment, empowerment, and purpose in both life and business. I'm Flavie, your host from France, a reflector in human design, and I am so excited to share today's episode with you because it's one that hits close to home for me. Today, we're talking about something every visionary woman entrepreneur faces at some point: self-doubt. I'll be sharing my personal journey on how self-doubt almost stopped me from launching this podcast, and we will explore how you can stay aligned even when doubt creeps in. But first, let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a moment when one comment just knocks you off balance? Well, that happened to me last year and it really shook me to my core. I was at a virtual business event, feeling excited about all the possibilities and the connection I could make. And then, during one of the group sessions, someone said something that completely blindsided me. "I don't want to hear you speak anymore because of your accent." Can you imagine how that felt? It was not just the two of us. We were in a group working on a project. I was in shock. I was humiliating, and honestly, it hurt deeply. For someone like me, who has spent my entire career working internationally and building a global business in English, that comment cut deep. Most of the time, I've been perfectly okay with my accent. In fact, people often ask where I'm from because I don't have the stereotypical French accent. But in that moment, all of my self-doubt rushed to the surface. Am I good enough? Will people even want to listen to me? Let me be honest. It took me over a year to finally decide to make this podcast. I was on the verge of launching it when that comment hit. But despite that, here I am, talking to you now. And today, I want to share how I moved past that doubt and how you can do the same when self-doubt rears its head. So after hearing that comment, I had two choices. I could either let it define me or I could choose to turn it into a strength. And for those of you who know astrology, I have my rising sign in Aquarius. So let's say there's a little rebel in me. And I always try to see life from the positive side. So I asked myself, what if instead of seeing my accent as a weakness, I could make it my strength? What if instead of blending it with everyone else, I used it to stand out and be different? Let's be honest, it's easy to criticize others, but offering constructive criticism takes more thought. A part of me reflected, how many native English speakers are fluent in a second language? Probably fewer than the number of non-native English speakers who are fluent in English. And guess what? I am one of those people. That's a huge strength. I realize that it takes courage to do what I'm doing. Speaking a second language, building a business, and stepping into the spotlight despite the discomfort. When I reflect deeper, I realize that it's all about getting out of my comfort zone. It's about taking risks, knowing full well that it might not work out perfectly, but daring to try anyway. Self-doubt is sneaky, isn't it? It shows up when we least expect it, especially when you're about to take a big leap, whether it's in business, life, or spirituality. Doubt makes us feel like we're not ready, not capable, or just not enough. It's one of the things that hold us back from stepping into our full potential. Here is what I've come to realize. Self-doubt is not something we can get rid of completely. It's something we need to learn to navigate. In fact, the more aligned we become with our true self, the more self-doubt might try to sneak in. Why? Because when we start to step into who we really are, it challenges everything we've been taught to believe about success, worth, and possibility. So, how do we stay aligned when self-doubt show up? First, it's about awareness. When doubt arises, don't push it away immediately. Instead, recognize it for what it is, an old belief or a fear trying to protect you. But that protection is not needed anymore. I remind myself of this truth. Doubt is a sign that I'm growing. Here is my tip number 1. Reconnect with your why. When doubt arises, I always go back to my why. Why did I start this podcast in the first place? Why do I do what I do in my business? For me, it's about helping visionary women like you live in full alignment with who they truly are. That's bigger than my fear. So, what is your why? Hold on to it whenever doubt tries to pull you off course. Tips number 2. Use your intuition to guide you. As a reflector, I'm naturally wired to reflect and observe before I take action. But this also means I have to be very tuned with my intuition when doubt shows up. Here is a practice I use when I'm feeling uncertain. I pause, I take a deep breath, and ask myself, is this doubt trying to protect me from something real, or is it just fear of the unknown? You don't have to be a reflector to use this technique. It's all about tapping into your body's wisdom. Whether you're a manifestor, a generator, or any other type of in human design, your intuition knows the way. Even when your mind is clouded with self-doubt, sometimes the best thing we can do is pause, listen, and trust the guidance we receive. Tips number 3. Take aligned action even when it's scary. The truth is, the antidote to self-doubt is not thinking your way out of it. It's taking action. Even when you're scared, I'll be honest with you, hitting record for my first podcast episode was terrifying. But I knew that if I waited until the fear disappeared, I would never do it. So I took the leap anyway. Aligned action doesn't have to be perfect action. It just needs to be in line with who you are and what you are here to do. So when doubt creeps in, ask yourself, what's one small step I can take today to move forward? It doesn't have to be huge. Even the smallest step toward your vision is still progress. So if self-doubt feels like it's taking over, I want you to remember this. You don't have to have everything figured out to be aligned. Alignment is not about perfection. It's about consistency and trust. It's about continually returning to yourself and what feels true for you. When doubt feels overwhelming, here are 2 things you can do. First one, journal. Get all those thrilling thoughts out of your head and onto paper. Often, just things I've written down can help you realize they don't hold as much power as you think. Second, reach out. Don't be afraid to connect with a trusted friend, mentor, or coach. Sometimes all it takes is someone reminding you of your strengths to get back on track. I want to leave you with this reminder. Self-doubt does not define you. It's just a part of the journey. What defines you is how you choose to move forward despite it. Whether it's launching a podcast, starting a business, or just showing up authentically in your everyday life, trust that you are enough exactly as you are. And remember, alignment is not about always feel confident. It's about staying true to yourself, even when doubt arises. And you have everything you need to do just that. So, as I wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with a question. What if, instead of letting self-doubt stop you, you turned it into your strengths? What if your unique voice, your story, your way of doing things is exactly what sets you apart? Thank you so much for tuning into Align by Design today. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you feel inspired, share this episode with someone who might need to hear it. Together, we can lead this revolution of women stepping into their full potential, despite any doubt they may face. I'm Flavie, and this has been Align by Design. And until next time, stay true, stay aligned, and keep evolving.